to another Narc Survivor live video. I just woke up about an hour ago. Had a shower. Still haven't made the bed yet. But I thought I'd just get on and make this video. Because, I don't know, I had some interest in Dream. Can't remember what it was about now. But it was something to do with devaluation. Because yes, believe it or not, but I do have dreams about this stuff. I spend so much time researching about this disorder that I even have dreams about it. Which I'm not complaining about because I'm fascinated about it. I'm very interested in learning more. So while it's still fresh in my mind, we're going to get into this. We're going to dive deeper into this devaluation phase, because when you look at it, I mean, this is the issue. This is the problem that everyone is having with these narcissists. It's a devaluation. Why do things go wrong? Why do they turn against you? Why do they devalue you? Why do they abuse you? I mean, why? I mean, they targeted you. They targeted you because they liked you. They clearly wanted something from you. So why would they then turn against you? Why would they then devalue you? And to be fair, it's not just one reason. For one thing, they idealized you. They put you high up on a pedestal. Viewed you as a perfect person, and no one's perfect. It's just a fantasy in their heads. So of course, that's one reason why they devalue us, because we can never live up to their idealistic expectations. We're just human, we're just people. So, to be fair, that is one reason. Is that in some ways it's like we couldn't reach those impossible expectations because they're unrealistic, and no human can. So it's not just us, anyone will inevitably fail with them. And it's not just that, it's also because they idealize you, and why you fail with them is because they've put you up on this pedestal, and the more time they spend around you, the more they begin to feel insecure. They begin to feel inferior to you. Now, initially they got around you to feed their own ego, to make themselves feel special and important. Every narcissist wants to feel special and important. And that's what they use people for. So if a narcissist is getting around you, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to use you so that they can feel special and important. They're not trying to give or provide anything to you. They were rejected, abandoned, neglected, or abused by their narcissistic parent in childhood. And they just felt completely worthless, insignificant, unimportant. Like they were not good enough. So now it's all just about how can they get to feel like they're something. They're worth something, they're desirable. How can they get to feel that way? And of course, what better way to feel that way than to target what they deem to be the best of the best? Because yes, that's how they saw us. That's why they targeted us, because they thought We're very successful, attractive, intelligent, confident, charismatic people. So just imagine the feeling they get from being in the love bombing phase with us. It's an incredible ego trip for them. It really makes them feel like there's something. It makes them feel very important, very special, very attractive. Thanks for the donation, Linda. I appreciate it. But the problem is they're just putting on an act. That's not really them. They're just mirroring you. They're getting in with you by acting like they're just like you. They like what you like. They're about what you're about. And that's how they get involved with you. That's how they get your attention. And many of us, we're just very kind, generous people. We're different to other people of our caliber. Other successful, attractive people who are going to be more narcissistic. If that same narcissist tried to get involved with them, then they would likely receive contemptuous remarks, insults. And of course, the narcissist does not want to feel that way. They're trying to avoid that. So they're looking for people who are more accommodating, people who are kinder, rather than someone who's just going to hurl insults at them. And that's another reason why they pick us. Because they recognize that maybe we're not so superficial. We're not just going to be criticizing them on their looks or just on anything that seems shabby about them. If anything, we're going to overlook that, or we're going to be walking on eggshells around them, even in the love bombing phase. We're going to be treading around it because we don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. We don't want them to feel shame. We don't want to ruin the mood. We don't want to kill the moment. We want to keep it going because it feels good. So although you may notice something unflattering about them, just as an example, maybe the narcissist has a big mole in their face and we will just overlook it. We just try to pay no attention to it because we want to feel good and we want to make them feel good. Well, that's the type of person that they're looking for. They don't want to be around someone who's just going to pick on their flaws, point them out to them. But then inevitably, I mean, because they're fake and because there's just so many things wrong with them, so many things they haven't worked on, inevitably it starts to reveal itself to you. And even if you are just a very kind, nice person, and you continue to walk on eggshells and just pay no attention to these things, they can see that you see. They do know that you start to see them as less than desirable. They're terrified of rejection, abandonment, so they're constantly scanning you, scanning your facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, for any signs of disapproval, or of repulsion, disgust. And no matter how much you try to hide it, they can tell, they know. They know that they're not so perfect to you anymore. They spot it instantly. They notice your energy shift. They can tell you get a bit turned off now. So then what do? They beat you to the punch. Even though you may not even been thinking of rejecting them, because maybe you're not so superficial, you are still trying to accept them. But then they're worried about one flaw, that one imperfection, may open the floodgates to everything else, because they're very conscious of everything that's wrong with them. And they're terrified you're going to find out everything else, all of the other things that are wrong. about themselves, about their family, about their history. And that's when they realize, okay, I gotta find a way now to take this person's focus off of me and all of the things that are wrong with me and my life, and I gotta get them focusing on themselves. So then they just start projecting their insecurities onto you. You're observing the things that are wrong with them, and then they're deflecting it back onto you. So now they're pointing at you now, they're devaluing you. They're criticizing you. And it keeps you looking at yourself, but then it's very confusing because it's like they're the ones who targeted you. They were all in, they were love bombing you. Until you started to see that, hold on a minute, they're not really like you at all. They're very different to what they portray themselves to be. Now you're noticing all of these flaws, all of these things that are wrong with them. So then they got to shift your focus. They got to put your focus back onto you. And this is all just childhood trauma for both us and the narcissist. So for them, it's trying to avoid those feelings of worthlessness and insignificance, to avoid being rejected. That's why they shift the focus back onto you. It's a little trick that they learned from their parent in childhood, because that's what the narcissistic parent did with them. So then it becomes more superficial and about just your performance instead of who you actually are as a person. And it's a childhood trauma for us as well, because maybe we also felt like we weren't good enough for our parent, who may be narcissistic as well. And for us, we tend to fawn. For them, it's more of a fight response. So they may have fought their parents, fought for their approval, but in a more a negative or abusive way. Well, for us, we fawn. We try to be better. We try to do more, even though they only got around us because they saw us as far greater than them. And then we're trying to do more. And we're not even getting a fair deal as it is, because it's like they weren't anything like us to begin with. They just wanted what we had. They wanted that ego trip. They wanted our approval, validation. But yeah, we try and do more for them because they're putting the focus on us and how we're not good enough, or on how something is wrong with us. And so we just try to do more. We just try to be better. But no matter what you do, it's never going to be good enough, because then if you're good enough, if you feel like, okay, they say I've done enough, they say I'm okay now, now the focus goes back on them again. So it's like, okay, I'm enough, I'm doing enough. But what about you? What am I getting from you in this situation? Because I'm enough, I'm giving to you. So why is there not an equal exchange here? And that's why they never validate you. That's why you never get to that point. Because instantly you're going to be looking at them and thinking, so what are you doing? And then it goes back to how you initially saw them. You saw the flaws, the imperfections, everything that was wrong with them. And they want to maintain control. They want to remain in a position of authority over you for that reason, so that you can't start judging and criticizing them, because there's so many things wrong with them. And this is how you should know that the person who is actually relatively okay, may not be perfect, I mean, no one's perfect, but if they're actually a decent human being, and they actually have things that you want, decent qualities, they're going to be the ones who try to make things better. They're going to be the ones who try to fix things. Or the person who's constantly shifting the focus onto someone else and just pointing out all of their problems, they're just not worth dealing with. And yet they devalue you and they put you in a trauma bond to where you're constantly seeking their approval and validation. You're trying to be more and better for them because you're thinking you're going to get something in return. That's going to be worth it. But you're expecting that from the wrong person because they're doing this to you to get something from you so that they can have this ego trip from being around someone who's very successful, very powerful, attractive. So it feels very good for them to have that control over you. Because really it should be the other way around. They should be proving themselves to you. They should be trying to do more for you. And yet they've got it the other way around, where you're doing everything for them and you're trying to be better for them. Just imagine how that makes them feel. It makes them feel incredible. To have you submitting to them and trying to make them happy, when it should be the other way around. They should be doing that for you. They should be trying to make you happy. And yet this is why they devalue you. This is why they abuse you. This is why they just mess you up as much as they can to keep you stuck, to keep you under their control, to keep your head in the clouds, keep your head spinning so that you're not focused. Because if you are focused, if you can see and think clearly, you're instantly going to realize that this person that you are does not belong anywhere near that. You don't belong anywhere near them. And they don't belong anywhere near you. And this isn't just to feed your ego, this is actually the truth. This is actually how it is. You don't belong anywhere near them. If they're devaluing you, if they're abusing you, there is an agenda behind it. To keep you doubting yourself, looking at yourself in a negative way, and seeing them as being above you, putting them on a pedestal when they do not belong there. Why put someone on a pedestal if they cannot reach their hand down and lift you up? If they're just going to keep you down there. The people who we should be putting on pedestals are the people who are going to bring us up with them. Those are the types of people who belong there. Narcissists, they're going to be up there on their own and they're going to leave you down. They're going to leave you down on your own. And so they devalue you, they abuse you, to just distort everything. Now everything just becomes about the abuse and just trying to avoid being harmed. And being told that you deserve it. This is all just gaslighting. It's all just to make you think that you don't deserve more. But actually the problem is they never deserve to be around you to begin with. They should never be anywhere near you. They mirrored you. They manipulated you, and this is how you get involved with them. And what happens? Do you get better? Does your life improve? Do things get better for them? Do they get a lot from you? This is how you know that they should never have been anywhere near you. Because they're leeches, the parasites, the bottom feeders. Thanks for the donation, Neon Legend. Yeah, they shouldn't have been anywhere near you. This is why they manipulate and control you. This is why they keep you down. Because otherwise you're going to rise up. You're going to realize your power, you're going to realize your worth. because you can do anything. You can achieve anything. That's why when they try to put you to the test, when they devalue you, you just try and do more. You just keep going. Because you know that you can. You know you can do anything. Problem is, you shouldn't be doing anything for them. They should be the ones who are subservient to you. Whether it's a man or a woman. I mean, if you're a woman watching this, you shouldn't have a man subservient to you anyway. So you just shouldn't be involved with them. Because in my opinion, I am traditional. I do believe that women should be subservient to men. Because women are more emotional, men are more logical. This is just in our biology. And men are just natural born leaders. The problem with the women who want to dominate a man and they want the man to be subservient to them, you just haven't been around the right men. And I think many of you, you know this. You know that's true. You've just been around these toxic, abusive men who want to make you subservient to them. And they're just not good leaders. They just lead people off the edge of a cliff. That's what the problem is. So it's not that you need to dominate a man. You just need to find a man who will lead you, but not dominate you. Because domination from either gender, either sex, it's wrong. There's no need to dominate anyone. Domination, that comes from insecurity. It comes from feeling like things are going to go wrong, or feeling like you're not good enough in that situation or for that person. There's no need to dominate anyone. As for following and leading, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if someone's got more wisdom, more experience, then of course, I mean, they should be taking the lead in that relationship. As long as you can have that trust for them and they won't betray you. But this is how this happens. This is how we've gotten to where we are today in the world. Because there's a lot of women out there who didn't have strong fathers, or their fathers were not present, or maybe they were dominated by their father in an unhealthy way. And then they grow up and they run into these men who are also very toxic, very abusive. And yet initially they trusted them, then these men betrayed them. So then these women learn that they need to be in control. They need to have the power now. They need to dictate how things are going to go. They need a man to be subservient to them. Problem is, many of these women, then they actually find a decent man. And they dominate him. And then we as men, we get hurt then. It's really sad, but that's just how it goes. And this is why it's so important to be able to discern people, to realize who can be a good leader in a relationship. Who knows what they're doing? Who's going to care about you? Because you don't want to make someone subservient. You don't want to dominate them if they are the ones who should actually be taking the lead. Because things aren't going to turn out well in that type of situation. I mean, it's kind of like, if you imagine you got like you got a ship on the sea. Let's just say it's the Titanic, and you just got some someone who's just training how to steer a ship. And they're the ones who are in the driving seat. And they're trying to maneuver around an iceberg. Because they're confident about it. And they feel like they should be in control. And then meanwhile, sitting at the back, you got the captain, who's got like 50 years of experience in steering a ship. That's pretty much what it's like when we're dealing with narcissists. And we can become that way sometimes as well. After dealing with them, then we feel like we need to be in control this time. And for women, sometimes you then run into someone who could have been a good leader for you. Not always, but sometimes it can happen. And this can be another reason why they devalue us, because remember, they were neglected or abused by someone they trusted in childhood who betrayed them. So now they feel like they can't trust anyone. They've got to be in control. They've got to have the power and authority. And ironically, they have to have the power and authority over someone who's better than them. Someone who is more powerful and successful. Because that's pretty much what they do. I mean, they seem to target people who remind them of a parent, or maybe a past relationship partner, someone who broke their heart, someone who did them wrong. They try and find someone like that, but then this time, they want to have the power. They want to be in control of them. When maybe, not always, but maybe, sometimes, that person back there who broke their heart, maybe that person was just too good for them. Maybe they just weren't on their level. And yet now they're trying to find someone else. They're trying to find that person in someone else. And this time be the ones who are in control. But really, they were lucky that they could even be subservient to that person before. They were lucky that person even gave them a chance. I'm just exploring the different dynamics of this. This is how it is a lot of times, and people need to know where they are. People need to know their value, realistically. Because come on, I mean, you see all of these people on TikTok, everyone thinks they're a celebrity. They're not. There used to be a time decades ago, people knew their place. People knew that, all right, they're not a movie star. They're not a supermodel. They're just a relatively normal person. And so they should meet and settle down with a normal person. I say normal, not that there's anything wrong with normal, just a word to use to try and express, what I'm getting at you. Because this is why in so many relationships, things are going wrong. People are leaving with less than what they came in with. And I know that's what happens with most of you, because you got involved with someone who in their minds is thinking they're a movie star, they're a supermodel or something. In reality, they're not. So you're investing your time, energy, money, and resources, and you're not getting that equal amount back in return, because this person just has some grandiose fantasy. And then also, on the other side of it, they're devaluing you. They're not recognizing your worth. They're not recognizing that maybe you, you could be a movie star, supermodel, or whatever it is. You could be a high caliber person. You could be very successful, very intelligent. But a lot of people, they just don't like to accept reality. They don't like to accept it could be someone else other than them who is special, who is gifted, who is meant for more, who is actually talented. And, you know, that's what happened with me in my life. When I was just 3 months old, I won a competition as a baby for my smile. I was in the newspaper for that. And then again, when I was about 10, I got through the audition. Since then, I've always attracted a lot of attention. I always had websites. And for me, it was more just, rather than superficial things, I started to get more into intelligence. So acquiring knowledge and wisdom from a very young age. And of course, now what I'm doing is with my YouTube, my TikTok, coming up to 200,000 subscribers. But my entire life I was kept down, made to believe that I'm not as good as I actually am. Well, actually, no. I am very influential. I am a good leader. I do have wisdom. I am very good at analysing and articulating things. So yes, I am talented, I am gifted. As many of you are as well. And yet you've been kept down. This is why I often like to refer to the movie Cinderella. Although that movie, it's more about superficial things. It's more about physical appearance and going to the ball with a prince. But I mean, many of us, we actually have more meaningful gifts and talents which are not recognized, which could be a great aid to the world. And that's not to say that a person's beauty doesn't have value. It does, but also, even if we go back in the day, millions of years ago, even if a man or woman was physically beautiful, but then they lacked the other skills to survive and the empathy as well to take care of each other, they would die out. They would go extinct. So even our physical appearance, our physical beauty, it's not necessarily a sign of good genetics. Because you can look as good as you want. That's not going to stop a tiger from ripping you apart. So, yes, I mean, I do value physical appearance as well. Attraction, physical attraction. But I think deeper things are more important. That's how we're really going to thrive as a species. But then, that's also a great way for them to dumb us all down, isn't it? I mean, just focus everything on the surface, on a person's looks. What about their brain? What about their thinking ability? If something just looks good, but it's not even practical, it can't do anything, then it's useless. It's valueless. So, and this is the problem with somatic narcissists, because they just want to be there sitting pretty, looking good, but it's just not practical. They can't actually do anything. All they can do is weigh you down, just drain you. And this is why we're really better off being with someone who's less physically attractive, but can actually do more practical things, can actually put in the work. And honestly, that's what I respect more. Could do both, and great. I mean, that's wonderful. If you look great and you can do great things, nothing wrong with that. I'm not biased or prejudiced against someone just because of their looks. I mean, I can appreciate a person's beauty as well. But yeah, I mean, this is why they devalue you. This is why they put you down. This is why they criticize you, they abuse you. Because they know that they never should have been around you to begin with. Deep down, they know that. They know that they manipulated you, they tricked you. What they may not know is that you were walking on eggshells around them. You already realize something's not right. They revealed a few flaws and imperfections. You realize everything's not together with them. They may not have realized that in you, because they can't really detect a person's empathy. They don't have those traits to be that way with you. But they may also walk on eggshells around you initially to try not to reveal certain things about themselves, true things that might turn you off or push you away. Because they're terrified of abandonment, and they're constantly scanning you to see if there's anything that might push you away. So they're trying to manage and restrict that. And then they end up devaluing you, turning against you, abusing you. Because it's like they're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. They're waiting for you to figure out what you're dealing with, and you're going to be repelled by them. You're going to want to get rid of them. They're just waiting for that to happen. So then they want to beat you to the punch. They want to, but then they still need you. If they still see that they can use you by devaluing you, by crushing your ego, making you feel like you're nothing, then they'll keep you around. They'll continue to use you while abusing you. But otherwise, I mean, this is more in extreme cases with, this might typically happen with other narcissists that they might encounter. If they meet someone and their ego is too strong, and this person just recognizes that they're no good, they're just putting on an act, they're not going to be about anything, and then they might just instantly just reject them. Or it could also be an awakened survivor of narcissistic abuse, someone who's encountering a narcissist again. They spot the red flag, they know what's going to happen, so then they reject them. But otherwise, the narcissist will devalue you to control you. Even the abuse is just a part of the devaluation. When they're abusing you, they're taking away your value. They're limiting, restricting, and controlling you, keeping you down, keeping you boxed in, to prevent you from branching out, to prevent you from growing, elevating. Because the moment that happens, the moment that you branch out and you begin to grow, it's like you imagine a tree just like growing its branches, you just like kind of just push the narcissist out of the way. That's how it is. And they just don't want that to happen to them. They're fine with devaluing you, keeping you down, abusing you, rejecting you, ghosting you. That's so they can maintain control. And to prevent you from doing that to them, because they are terrified of being criticized, devalued, rejected themselves. That's where they've got to beat you to the punch. And that's why they orchestrate everything very carefully. They'll try and love bomb you first if they think that's going to work with you, if they think you're going to believe in it. But then what they do, they devalue you, they abuse you, criticize you, to get you to doubt yourself, and then they can discard you. Because otherwise, if they don't devalue you first, if they don't abuse you first, then they just go straight to discarding you. It's like, you're just going to be looking at them like, all right, good riddance, get lost. Because you're still going to know your worth. You're still going to have everything that you are. So they're just going to look like absolute fools. It's going to look ridiculous on their part. But you have everything that makes you you, and you know your worth. And they're the ones discarding you. That's why they have to devalue you first. They've got to abuse you first. So then you think there's something wrong with you. And then it looks great on them. Then it feels good for them when they walk away. Because then it's like, for them, yeah, that's it, you're garbage. They got to get rid of you. Because you're a hindrance to their lives now. After what they've done to you. So that's why they do it that way. That's why they devalue you and then discard you. But other times, if they have to, then they will discard you first if they can't get in to devalue you. And then they just got to suck it up. Or what typically happens, if they'll just go and target someone else and just annihilate them, just devalue them first. Because then they've got to get that out of that system. Those feelings of being worthless after they discarded someone who is better than them. No narcissist wants to do that. They don't want to discard someone who's better than them. They want to bring you down first and then just throw you away. And it's all just to trick their minds. They live in a fantasy. So that's really where they have to devalue you. It's about the greatness, the power that is you does not have that type of effect on them. Because yes, at some level they know what they're dealing with. That's why they targeted you. That's why they love bombed you initially. It's because they know that you are something. You are very special. And that's not just me saying it to boost you up. I'm saying that because it's genuinely true. Many of you are far greater than what you know. And you can't even see it, but they could see it. They can't see it once they've been around you and devalued you, of course. Because they've done all of these things to you. They brought you down. But then that's what triggered them to devalue you. Because they thought, hold on, this tidal wave is about to crush them. They're about to get blown away. So they had to try and reverse that later, deflect it back onto you. so that it didn't just crush and expose them. And these are all just Jedi mind tricks. They're things that we've never done, we've never even thought of doing. Because, again, we're just far better than they are. And that's why when they devalue us, well, we start to feel like we're not good enough for them, even though we're just far better than them. But when we start to feel that way, what do? We try to be better. We run endlessly on their hamster wheel, trying to please them. Because that's what a person does when they're in a situation and they feel like they're not good enough there and then, but they can be better. They try more. They don't give up. And they really use this against us. What we should do is just cut it off, recognize the red flag, recognize that they can't accept us, they can't see our value, and just take it elsewhere. Just focus on ourselves. Because this is why they then come back and hoover us. This is why they hoover us over and over again. Because they know they've discarded you, they've left you without any closure. You're still going to be doubting yourself, you're going to be looking for answers. And so you're still a good source of supply for them. And this is what a supply is. A source of supply is pretty much just someone who doesn't know their worth. Someone who doubts themselves, someone who is willing to cater to the narcissist. Because honestly, if you knew your worth, you would be out of there. You wouldn't even entertain it. You would realize that you knew more, that you deserve more. But then, of course, in the beginning, we may know our worth. We're made to believe that they are of equal worth to us, which is a lie. They make us believe that they are equal to us until we start to see things that are wrong with them, and then they devalue us. They take value away from us to try and level it out and make things seem more even, more equal, or less equal, to where we then have to do more for them. That's why they devalue us, because we're starting to catch on. We're starting to realize, hold on, so I'm investing all of this into you, and this is what I'm getting back. That's why they have to devalue us, to discredit us, because then it's like, no, well, you're just a piece of crap anyway, so you should be happy with this. You shouldn't have the audacity to ask for anything more. This is all you deserve. And then by doing that, they get more than what they deserve out of you, by holding this mentality. And that's why they want to keep you around then. Then they're all over you. Because then they get to be around a powerful, successful, attractive person, and they can devalue you, they can make you feel like you've done something wrong, and then it's like you have to do more and more for them to try and make them happy, to try and prevent them from constantly raging at you. This is why they hold this mentality. It's so that they get more and more, because they're very arrogant and entitled. And you just got to accept, okay, none of us are perfect. Like, you're still human. You deserve love and respect. And maybe they're right. Maybe you did make a mistake. And maybe that's what they picked on to devalue you. Maybe there was something imperfect about you that they then exaggerated, they blew it out of proportion. And clearly that is the case, because otherwise you just They wouldn't entertain you. They wouldn't be on you. They wouldn't still be using you for things. You would still be you, and you'd just be going your separate ways. They wouldn't bring you down. They wouldn't devalue you and then discard you after. And that's how you know that it's all it's all a lie. You are actually better than them. Because otherwise, if you weren't, they would just treat you with contempt, and they wouldn't touch you. They wouldn't need to devalue you. They wouldn't need to take anything away from you. They would just leave it, forget it. It's worthless. What's the point? But because they recognize you as being better than them, they discard you. Then they can feel better about themselves. Then they can leave with no regrets. And that is the major difference between the two. Because in one situation, a person is actually not any good. And that's why they just treat them with contempt and just, get lost. And they don't even touch them. They don't change anything about them. They don't bring them down. But in the situation where they do affect you, they do sabotage you, they do discredit you, they do steal from you, take things away from you, betray you, that's because they do recognize you as being better. And they know that they don't deserve you. And this is the same thing every time. Doesn't matter what the situation is. That's why they do that. That's the reason for it. That's what they try to get from you afterwards. Because otherwise, a person just wouldn't entertain it. They wouldn't entertain it. If you knew something's no good, if you knew it was poison, why would you want anything from it? You wouldn't. But they do. They want it from you because it's all a lie, it's all an agenda. They're acting like you're something that you're not, so that they can get more out of you, more goodness out of you. They're not looking for anything bad. They're not looking to poison themselves or to put themselves in a harmful or dangerous situation. They're trying to go up off your expense by making you think that you're less. So I hope I've made that clear there. And if anyone needs me to further expand on that, or maybe, well, let me know that. Because I just really want everyone to know what this devaluation phase is about, why they get snowballed to someone who is beneath them. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. It's like a CEO trying to prove themselves to their subordinate. You're the one who should be managing everything. You're the one who should be in control. You're the one who should be the captain of the ship. They should be proving themselves to you because you're the one with the value. They're the ones who are leeching off your value, your time, your attention, your validation, your energy, your money and resources. So why are you proving yourself to them? You don't need to prove nothing to them. They should be proving why they're worthy of you. And that's just that any time that they try to have authority over you, they try to control you, they try to tell you what to do, it's because they know that they're inferior to you, and yet they want to have that feeling, they want to have that ego trip, that sense of desirability, caliber. And for normal people, someone who's not narcissistic, someone who's not mentally ill, that feels very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. I mean, I myself, to be around someone of equal success, equal confidence, equal intelligence, equal attraction, whatever it is, for me to keep them down and to not let them know how wonderful they are, it would feel so uncomfortable. It's just unnatural. Because no, that person needs to have their confidence. That person needs to be in control. They need to have the power. Because that's just how naturally things are meant to be. That's how we thrive as a species. Narcissists are not meant to thrive with us. They're meant to die out. They're meant to go extinct. And that's why they have to reverse the power dynamics, because they're not even meant to be here. They were never meant to be here to begin with. We were meant to be more of a loving, empathic species, because that's where our power is. That's where our power comes from. Anytime that anyone is bitter, angry, hateful, resentful, this limits you, this restricts you, it contains you. It doesn't give you that full freedom, that full scope, that full power that you would otherwise naturally have. And this is a fixed state for narcissists. And then this is why they have to control us. I know there's a lot of trolls in the comments. Unfortunately, I'm going to moderator on this one because it's quite early in the day here. But you always get these, some of them are just flat out trolls, but others are narcissists posing as victims that we see as well. Just anything to get that supply, anything to feel like they're in with us, they're good people. Because deep down they know that they're bad, they know they're no good. Irani says narcissists hate it when you're thinking out of the box. I said, because if you think out of the box, you're going to realize that they need to be put in the box. That's the only conclusion, that you're going to need to be put under control. That needs to happen. And we need to be the ones in power. We are the ones who are in control. Empathic people, good leaders, not narcissistic people who just dictate and control everything. These are bad people. They're self-serving. They only care about themselves. Darlie Tor says 30 years is a long time. Yeah, they'll keep you stuck for decades, thinking that something is wrong with you, making you try to prove yourself to them. As I've referred to before, there was this movie with a mother and her daughter. Well, she had two daughters actually, but one of them, the older daughter, she moved out, and she kept the younger daughter at home. She was keeping her sick, putting poison in her food, to where the daughter was then stuck in bed every day. She couldn't go to school, she couldn't have any friends, she couldn't have relationships, and she was stuck with her mother, who was taking care of her and who was keeping her sick and making the doctors and everyone believe that she has some kind of medical condition, so she could keep her as a source of supply. And then the other daughter came home one day, and I think they found the poison that she was putting in the food. And I just remember that scene at the end when the daughter is trying to get out of bed. She just wants to have her freedom. She wants to get out into the world. She wants to go to school. She wants to have friends. She wants to have relationships. And the mother just loses her mind because she feels that loss of control. She's going to be abandoned. And then she puts her arms around her daughter's neck, strangles her. And at the same time, she says, "Why are you hurting me?" While she's strangling her own daughter. Because that's how they feel when they lose that control, they lose that grip over you. And it's because clearly she was jealous of her daughter. She viewed her daughter as being better than her. Because, I mean, of course, a young teenage girl like that is going to be getting a lot more attention. A beautiful girl, she's going to get a lot more attention, a lot more friends. When she goes out into the world, when she goes to school, she's going to have boyfriends. And her mother is clearly very old and bitter to have to do that to her. She probably hasn't got anyone. All she's got is her daughter, so she wants to contain her, restrict her, not allowed to go out into the world and just experience this life. This is what every narcissist is like. And yeah, they do that as well. They run smear campaigns, they isolate you, because they want to contain you as their source of supply. They want to have something wonderful, something special, something better than them under their control, all for themselves. And it's just sick, it's just wrong. They just want to keep you as their little pet. Stacey Shea says, my ex-husband, 24 years, and this narco just wasted 5 more years. I said they will waste years of your life. We waste years of our lives stuck with these predators who exploit us, who use up all of our wonderful value. And they're not even deserving of it. And this isn't just about promoting some superficial boss babe attitude. I'm talking about people who have actually done the work here. People who have worked on themselves, they've grown, and they work hard. They've built their own value. You deserve someone of equal value. You do. I mean, why should someone deserve the world from you? They've got nothing to provide back to sustain you. How does a species thrive in that type of dynamic? It doesn't. It dies out. And this is what would have happened back in the day. If all of these narcissists, they're targeting people better than them, then of course anything of a higher value, higher caliber, it all just goes extinct. It dies out. Maybe this is why the world is the way it is today. But most people are narcissists now. It's just how it is. I mean, no one should be hitting the jackpot with someone without doing the work. I mean, you know, as an example, if you're just an average looking guy, you shouldn't be pulling a supermodel unless you're like a very hard worker. Maybe you got a business, you're doing well for yourself. And but even then, I mean, that's superficial. So she would have to have something going on as well. She would have to be making money a similar amount to you. You know, things would have to be equal. People should be relatively equal physically, in your physical strength, your ability, and in your drive, your motivation, in your success, in your upbringing, in all of these things. People should be relatively equal, because otherwise someone's going to be left with the short end of the stick. Someone's going to be losing out at the end of the day. Someone's going to be left disappointed. And of course, who's that going to be? It's going to be the person who is higher up, the person who is of a higher caliber. They're the ones who's going to be left disappointed. They're not going to be disappointed with you because you're better than them. So they're going to be the ones who have that ego trip, that sense of pride. They're going to be feeling good about themselves. You're going to be feeling like absolute crap after dealing with them. And this is why people need to be realistic in this world today. People need to be realistic about their worth, about their success, their abilities, even their physical appearance. All of these things. People need to be with those who are on a similar level. That's how things work. Long term especially. That's how we sustain things, relationships. The reason why everything falls apart is because someone was too good for the other person. And that's why someone came in with a lot and then left with a lot less. Or someone else got more than what they bargained for. Someone else bit off more than they could chew. So it seems like in the world today, I mean, the most valuable people, the greatest people aren't typically those who have the most. Because that could just be someone who's acquired, they've stolen it. It could just be a narcissist. These days, it's like the highest caliber people are the ones who have lost the most. And is that not how it is for all of us? We lost a lot. We lost a lot of our time, our vitality, our money. The George says, my dad is jealous. I'm not old and miserable like him. So he has to constantly devalue me, treat me like lesser, tries to convince me to move back in with him to be able to control me, make me his minion bitch. Yeah, narcissistic parents will do that. Because again, it's like they view you as a younger version of themselves, or a better version of themselves. And they're disappointed, they're resentful, they feel like they didn't get what they deserved in life. They don't want to see you get it. They don't want to see you living a life that they couldn't. So by keeping you down, keeping you stuck, keeping you under their control, it kind of regulates their jealousy. It would be very painful for them to see you branching out, moving on, getting on with your life, getting the things that you wanted, succeeding. It would be very painful for them, because it's the lack of self-belief. They know it's not going to be that way for them, and it wasn't that way for them. What this all comes down to, when they're devaluing you, they're controlling you, they're restricting you, this all comes down to them not getting adequate supply. So they're controlling you to get supply from you, because they can't get that type of positive supply that they really want. That's why. Because honestly, a narcissist who, like a grandiose narcissist who's getting good supply, good positive supply, they're not going to care about controlling you. They're not going to care about you living your life, doing well, succeeding. They're going to help you to do that. They're going to give you whatever they think you're missing, whatever they think you need. They're going to be taking care of you. They're going to give you money. They'll buy your house. They'll just do everything with you. And we see this as well. We see this with grandiose narcissists and their children. They spoil them. They give them everything because they're grandiose. They could be Instagram models. Maybe they're getting so much supply from everywhere, so much positive attention. They feel so good about themselves, and they just want to do more and give more. And it complements their image as well. So all of these types of narcissists that we're seeing, they're not getting that supply. I've spoken about this before. They're not getting that supply because empaths are very rare these days, and narcissists can't get fuel from each other unless they have on a very large scale. Maybe then they can create the illusion of getting something. But yeah, a grandiose narcissist who's getting good positive supply is a very different type of person. It's very different to that cold, bitter, covert narcissist who's just not getting anything. They will not treat you well. And this is why the focus is always on, when we look at inmates, prisoners who are coming back out into the community. Now we understand that these people, not all of them, but many of them, they have a mental illness. Many of them are going to be narcissists. And of course, there's certain needs that must be fulfilled for a narcissist to keep them to where they're not dangerous, that they don't pose a threat to the community, to other people. They're not going to cause harm to them. They've got to have a relatively stable relationship, a partner that they value. There's got to be something that's, has to be superficial about them. They've got to be attractive, they've got to be beautiful. And these people, they have to have a good job, a good income. They've got to have a home, they just got to have all these things that keep them regulated. Because that was probably what got them in trouble in the first place. It was that their needs weren't being met. They weren't getting what they wanted. Unfortunately, it's difficult to satisfy these narcissists. Not all narcissists, I mean, some of them, they can be okay. They're not all like that. Some of them, they can be satisfied with just a stable relationship, someone who cares about them, as long as they're getting plenty of supply, plenty of recognition. But there are narcissists out there where it's like the more you give to them, the more they crave, and it's never enough. And those types of narcissists are a real problem. Some of them may be sociopaths, psychopaths. So they come back out into the community, and even though a society could give them everything, they could give them a good job, stable income, they got a good family, they still want more. They still want to betray people, cheat people, deceive them, because they're still not happy. And this is the problem with them. It's like even when you give them what they want, they're still not happy with it. Because they were never meant to have it anyway, that's why. They were never meant to have anything. I mean, that's the truth. And that's why they can't be happy, that's why they can't be grateful with it. And that's really the answer for a lot of these people, is for them to not have anything. Is for them to struggle, suffer. Many of them may never have experienced true suffering in their life. They may have been spoiled as a child, and they need to go through that to then experience that turning point. But then they start to look within, and they realize that maybe they need to do more, maybe they need to give more. Instead of holding on and being so bitter. And that's really what changed me a lot. That's what really helped me to grow. Was realizing that it's not all about me. It's not all just about consuming as much as I possibly can in life, on people and things. But what really brings true happiness is when we give. Well, not so much when we give, but it's first giving to ourselves, attending to ourselves. Because naturally by doing that, we then have things to give to people. So that comes afterwards. Again, what you give out, it comes back. And that's what really brought me happiness and joy, was giving, providing to people, serving the community, society. That's what brought me more fulfillment than anything else. Knowing that I'm doing good, knowing that I'm improving people's lives. And I was always really like that, but I think for me, in my early 20s, I really started to realize my value, my worth. I was going to the gym every day, I was working hard. I was really just in my prime. In some ways. In other ways, I'm in my prime now. But yeah, that happens. I mean, when you work on yourself, when you're taking good care of yourself, you're going to start to demand more. Maybe that is a little bit narcissistic, but that's how it should be. I mean, if you're taking good care of yourself, if you're doing well, if you're succeeding, you should expect more. You should not expect less than what you're able to provide. And even if that does sound slightly narcissistic, it doesn't matter, that's fine. You should expect a similar level to what you're putting out. The problem with these narcissists is that they're very grandiose and they expect more than what they're even giving, what they're even capable of giving. Now that is the problem. If you're expecting or demanding something, that's fine, as long as you have something to give. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how we build together, that's how we grow. But they have these grandiose fantasies, just these illusions of grandeur, of actually doing something when they're not doing anything. But they're not capable of giving anything. That's narcissism. So they're expecting and demanding from you your attention, your validation, your investment, but then you're getting nothing back in return. You're not getting an equal exchange. They're being narcissistic by doing that. And that's how you end up with a short end of the stick. You end up feeling disappointed because while you invested something, you got nothing back. Thanks for the donation, Bronco Nevo. I appreciate all of these donations today. Eddie Wynn says we live on planet Narc. That's right. It's just a bunch of people who demand the world from you. And you may have the world to give. The problem is they haven't got anything that they can do for you. And yet they're making these demands. They're expecting from you. Well, that's great for them, but how is that any good for you? The George says, sick, evil, twisted manipulators use psychological warfare to dumb everyone who's a perceived threat to them, even if it's their own friends or family especially. I said they have to use psychological tricks. It's all just fantasy. Because they're butthurt about reality. And that's the thing. They can go into their little fantasies all they want, into things that have no basis in reality. They're not going to find any fulfillment in that. And why? Because it's not real. Because it's just something that exists only in their minds. It's not out there in the world. If it was, then they would feel good about it. They can't find any fulfillment in anything that they achieve or accomplish because it's not real. It's not connected to them because they're being fake, they're fraudsters, con artists. And yet they continue to rely on these psychological tactics, these psychological means that have no basis in reality. You think at some point they will come to the conclusion that even if they do that, it's not going to make them feel better anyway. It will initially because they're just deluding themselves. But then in time, they will just end up feeling worse than they felt before. But yeah, what many of you need to do to get out of this devaluation, this trauma bond. Let me tell you what the solution, the answer is to all of this. Because when you've been devalued and they're portraying themselves as ideal to you, they're putting themselves up here, they're bringing you down there, you're looking up at them thinking that they're superior to you now. So naturally, after they've abused you, you're going to be thinking, okay, so you can help me. You can make things better for me. You can make me happier. Because you're telling me, you're showing me that you're up here and I'm down here. I'm no good, I'm bad. and you're perfect, you're flawless, you can't do anything wrong. So you're looking up at them, thinking that they can make things better for you, but they can't. They keep that dynamic to keep you doing more for them, because it's an illusion. It's actually they're down here and you're up here. That's the reality of it. You're up here giving to them down there. And no matter how much you give to them, they're never going to come up. It's never going to be equal to the point where they then want to give to you. Because if they're above you, they're going to be the ones giving to you. But because they keep this illusion, it keeps you waiting, holding on for them to give, to provide something to you, to replenish you. But actually, no, it's an illusion. You're expecting something from someone who is beneath you. So what you have to do, what the solution is, when you realize that they're down here and you're up here, all you have to do is just give to yourself. Just replenish yourself. Practice self-love. Start realizing your worth. You're not going to get anything from them, from someone who's beneath you. They can't even take care of themselves. That's why they need you. That's why they're devaluing you, abusing you, to make you think less of yourself and to see themselves up here so that you start giving to them. Because you feel like they're better than you. And it's kind of distorted because, of course it should be the other way around. But they make it like you've got to give to them so that they then want to be there for you. And they have the power to lift you up. But actually, no, they don't. Because it's actually the other way around. And they're beneath you. And that's why you're the one who's doing for them and you're helping them. That's why you're the one who is fawning for them. But yeah, there's nothing that you can do to make them better. There's nothing you can do to change them. No matter how much you give to them, it will never be enough. You know that feeling you naturally get when someone does for you? When they attend to you, they validate you. Maybe you were feeling a bit low before, but then they bring you up, they bring you to a certain point, a certain level. They fill up your cup to the point where you then want to pour back into them. Narcissists don't get that feeling. You can pour into them as much as you want. It's not going to make a difference. It's just going to leak out because they have a void that can never be filled. So they're never going to feel satiated. They're never going to feel grateful. They're just going to demand more from you. And you're going to pour into them until you're empty, and then they will discard you. They'll see you as useless, worthless, at least until they wait for you to replenish yourself. Because it's like you have some magical self-filling cup. We just replenish ourselves somehow. We can regulate ourselves. And I guess that comes down to our childhood. We were taught to do that by our parents. Or maybe we had no one there to soothe us sometimes, and we had to learn to do it for ourselves. Well, as for narcissists, they were always pacified, always soothed, and never taught to regulate themselves. That's why now they're stuck like this. Vaccination, butterfly emotion. But yeah, I hope this is enough for you. I hope that this has helped you to understand why the narcissist must devalue you. and also why they then end up discarding you. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Subscribe and click all notifications so that you will be notified when I go live again. Donations are greatly appreciated, no matter how small. You can donate to my PayPal. It is paypal.me/Narc Survivor. If you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session, just go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And you can follow me on my Instagram. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. Thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video, and I will talk to you soon.